So how was Stranger Things 2, and how was it compared to Season 1 of Stranger Things? Welcome, everybody, to this discussion, spoiler-filled discussion of Stranger Things Season 2 on Netflix. And we are going to discuss this TV show. So, starting off with the plot.
This is about a year after the first season ended, and a year later where these characters are at in their lives now.
Right, and it's about Halloween time.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of the school year. So the plot, I think, was good. They did a good job making the plot still interesting, even though Will is now found. Because that was the most intriguing thing about season 1, is what happened to Will.
Yeah, and where was he? And trying to get him back.
That was a big concern going into season 2. You're thinking to yourself, well, are they still going to have an interesting plot now that Will's back? How are they going to make it?
Yeah, like how are they going to make it interesting again? Because a lot of things were wrapped up, even though there's still a lot of mystery from the first season left over.
I thought that the plot was good. I mean, you had the whole, even though the audience knows where 11 is, the boys don't. So you kind of have that aspect of what happened to 11 that they're kind of dealing with or coping with.
Yeah, mostly Mike. The other ones don't really seem to care that much, actually.
I think they care. They just
didn't show it that much.
They just realize that they have to move on from it.
True.
They're trying to get back to normal.
Yeah, that was a big part of Mike's story is him, his inability to really move on.
Yeah, from it. And then you have the whole plot with Will still being connected to the Upside Down. He's not completely free of it. In addition to, you have the Upside Down seeping into the real world with the demo dogs
the Demogorgon.
And the underneath the ground, you have the...
Yeah, underneath the lab. And then it's revealed, that big reveal at the end, where there's the huge cave that the lab people are just investigating and just, doing all kinds of tests on. That was a pretty cool reveal.
And again, you have Will, who is the victim in all this, again, because he is still feeling the effects from the Upside Down from season 1. And then you have the giant shadow creature, basically...
The Mind Flayer.
He...
kind of gets possessed by it.
Yeah, he gets possessed by it in a way. And
so again, he plays a victim role in this season, like he did last season, even though he's a lot more prominent in this one.
And so then again, you have his mother in every episode stressed out and,
Yeah, she does a good...
frantic.
She does a good job at that.
You know how she does the crazy things in season 1 with the lights? And she's doing all these things that make her look like she's insane.
Yeah.
And now this season we have the crazy things in her house with her putting up all the pictures that Will is drawing and turning into the tunnels. And she's got that taped all around her house. So it kind of takes some of the aspects of season 1 and brings them into season 2, which I'm not sure how I feel about, because it seemed...
I like that aspect of it. I thought that, it's kind of a cool callback, and it's a neat little thing that they're doing the taping of stuff to create a map. I thought that was interesting.
I liked that part, but I don't know how I feel about her character kind of being the same, frantic.
In the same exact role.
Yeah, she can't catch a break. And then Will is still the victim. And it's almost like their characters didn't change or grow at all, because they just had to play the same role as in season 1, where the other characters get to actually grow and they get some character development.
Have some arcs.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually really glad. A lot of people have a problem with the starting of the season and how slow it was at the beginning, which I understand, episode 4 in particular, but the first 2, maybe 3 episodes, I really liked how they were kind of setting up these characters and showing where they are in that, so that you can see where they've been and the growth that they've had since 11 disappeared. And then we get to that Halloween episode, and that was great to me. I thought it was really cool, because then we get a lot of really good context as to where these characters are and where their potential is gonna go, and it builds intrigue.
Yeah, I loved the beginning of the season. I did not have a problem with them getting to the meat of the story until later on. That was totally fine with me. I liked how they took it slow. We got to spend time with the characters trying to get back to normal before they brought in this new problem.
Yeah, I did feel that it was a little bit slow, a little bit at episode 4 when I think it was when Nancy and Jonathan were investigating what happened to Barb, and it's like, where are you going with this, and how does it really tie into the plot?
Yeah, that part of the plot was strange. They kind of went off on this tangent where
Bringing Barb back.
Well, like Jonathan, and it was almost like that was that whole thing with Barb, and then Nancy getting into this really superficial fight with Steve.
Yeah, because she was drunk.
Yeah, and then that seemed like a really forced thing. Like, oh, we have to find a way to get Nancy and Jonathan to get together, but we still want to make Steve likable, so let's have them get in this fight over Barb, and then Jonathan and Nancy are forced to like be together for a few days. It just seemed kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit contrived. Not that it wasn't like well done or anything. It's just like the only purpose of that was to get Nancy and Jonathan together. Because before, it didn't seem like Nancy had really any romantic interest with Jonathan until that episode.
Yeah, and it's almost like I feel like the directors and writers think that we, the audience, are rooting for Jonathan and Nancy to get together, but in my opinion, that's not the case. Like,
that was mainly in season 1 because Steve was a douche.
Yeah, but then with Steve's like character arc,
yeah,
where you wanted Nancy and Steve to stay together.
He was an awesome character in this season.
And actually, I think that's one of my critiques of this is like same with Bob, right? They brought Bob on, and Bob was this really likable character, and he's with Joyce, and like. At first, you're kind of like, I don't know about his character, like, what's he bring to the table? And then slowly, throughout the season, you, like, fall in love with him.
It's like, I think he's going to be a stereotype and, like, a jerk, like, I'm going to be your stepdad, and I'm a jerk.
Or just, like, goofy and just not likable.
Right, but then it turned out, he was, like, one of the most likable characters in
exactly
the show.
Like with Barb, right? With Barb was just a minor character. You kind of start to like her. They kill her off. Same with Bob. He was supposed to be a minor character. You fall in love with him, and they kill him. I was pissed when they killed Bob. That whole episode, I was like, if you kill Bob, I'm not watching you anymore. Like, I could just...
The Game of Thrones Bob.
I could sense that they were about to kill Bob. But Game of Thrones has not killed off Tyrion. So Game of Thrones is doing it correctly.
So they still have your favorite character in that.
Yeah, but like Bob, I was so mad. And I feel like, again, they only did that because... they think that we, the audience, are rooting for Joyce and Hopper to like have some sort of romance, but that's not true.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way.
I liked Joyce and Bob, and I was rooting for Nancy and Steve. So like, I don't like that they're like going this stereotypical way of, oh, well, these two characters are supposed to get together, and these two.
Yeah.
I didn't like that at all. I think it would have been great if Bob and Joyce just were a couple for the rest of all the seasons. Bob was a great character.
Yeah.
So that, I didn't like that. I mean, I realized they had to kill off somebody. I don't know.
Should have killed off Joyce.
No, I think they should have killed off Will. And I know that sounds terrible, but...
Oh, that would have just been, like, kind of anticlimactic.
I don't know. Will has had no character development. All these other characters... Because he's been gone for all of season 1.
He's been a victim, though. That's kind of his whole character is, like, the victim.
But, like, we literally know nothing about him. Because season 1, he was missing. And season 2, he was possessed. So, like, we don't really know much. We haven't fallen in love with his character. We haven't had time to really care about his character.
So hopefully if they do a season 3, which they probably will. So hopefully they'll actually get some development for him as not the victim character for once.
Well, the thing is, if they would have killed off Will, we would have felt really terrible about it because we still care about all the other characters. And all the other characters deeply care about Will. That's
where the care for Will comes from.
Is the other characters. So we still would have been really upset about it, but we wouldn't have lost a character that they invested and we invested time in starting to love. So I feel like, one of the lab technicians says like, well, that's hurting the boy, this fire is hurting the boy, Will. We can't continue to do it. And the other lab technician says, well, maybe
sacrifices have to be made.
Sacrifices need to be made. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of agree with you, man. Like, we're literally going to let this shadow creature overtake Earth because you don't want to hurt this kid, which turns out they turned up the heat anyway to get rid of the shadow monsters. So, I don't know.
So, like, maybe, like, the fire would have been a quicker way to do it.
Yeah,
and just get rid of the shadow creature.
and I mean, after they decided they weren't going to kill him, he ended up killing all of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so mistake on their part, but good for us in caring about the other characters.
well, I just feel like I'm mad that they killed Bob over Will. Like, Will could have been the sacrifice, not Bob.
Yeah, you're just bitter about Bob.
I'm really bitter about Bob.
But
really bitter.
yeah, he was awesome. I did enjoy how they handled all the other characters, especially like Dustin.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a really cool arc, and he had a cool like character relationship with Steve. Actually, like you wouldn't think that them two together would be so cool.
That's Steve makes that comment about like, I might not be a good boyfriend, but I'm a really good babysitter.
Yeah,
And that was excellent because their pairings of the characters this season was on point. They paired off Eleven and Hopper, which was, I loved their relationship.
Yeah.
Loved it. It's like this man who lost his daughter and is now caring for,
Right,
and
father
he's like this
figure.
hardened, policeman who doesn't really have emotions, and she's like,
yeah, he doesn't really know how to take care of a kid. Really, he's like, there's 3 rules.
so
That's how to take care of a kid.
that was a super cute relationship that was developing. And then you have Steve, and he's like, the newest member of the Babysitters Club, and he's like taking care of these 3 younger kids. He's got Lucas, Dustin, and
I think Max is with him at that point.
Max, yeah. So he's taking care of them, and that was just a cute relationship there where Steve's like really protecting these younger kids.
Yeah, definitely. Especially the episode where they're trying to lure the demo dogs. Mm-hmm. And like Steve gets his nail bat, and because Dustin can't get a hold of any of his friends. So he
Gets a hold of Steve.
finally finds Steve because he's at Nancy's with the roses trying to win her back because they had that dumb fight.
Which was great.
Yeah, and so that was really cool with all the kids like trying to set up a trap for the demo dogs because they only think it's one, and then
Yeah.
it turns out to be a lot of them.
Yeah.
But lucky for them, they got called away. I actually thought Steve was gonna die.
Yeah, see, and that would have made me mad also. So I'm glad they didn't do that. Like, it's funny, if you're going to kill off main characters, kill off Will and Jonathan, which is funny because they're like supposed to be like the main characters, but they get the least development. Like, I literally care about those 2 characters the least.
Yeah, Jonathan didn't really have a whole lot to do in this. He was just with Nancy during the Barb investigation, which amounted to them exposing the company or the lab or whatever, but that's kind of all it was. Like, it didn't tie into like the actual story of this season, the main story at least. It was more of like a subplot.
Well, like I said too, the whole point of the plot was just to get those 2 together. So
yeah.
it seemed, a little
Well, and now
compressed.
that the lab is shut down.
Yeah.
But who knows? Somebody could like just pop up in their place pretty easily, I think.
What do you think of the plot where they took Eleven's character, where she went off with another group of
I thought it was
rebels, I guess?
mostly pointless. Because, I mean, it was a little bit of like character moments and like discovery for her, but for the most part, she didn't tie in much with the main story. Again,
Yeah, she didn't.
it was just like almost a subplot or a side tangent until the very, very end when she finally connected with the other group. I feel like she should have connected with the other group a little bit sooner so that they can actually develop their plans a little bit better.
Yeah, that other group she goes and starts to join. I don't know what you would call them, like...
The D&D kids. I don't know.
No, the other group, the rebellious older kids.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. The outcasts.
The outcasts, yeah, the outcasts, the criminals. She goes and joins them. And I also kind of feel like they just spent 1 episode on that, which seemed like, oh, they had all these characters that they were building, and then it was 1 episode.
Yeah, they had the teaser in the first episode, and you're like, oh, she must be a really huge, integral part of this season. Nope, she's in 1 other episode, and that's it.
But, I'm okay with it because I think that they're going to become important maybe in the next season.
Hopefully, yeah.
So maybe there were just a few tidbits in this season of things that are to come.
Exactly. So if you see it as an entire, like, series,
Yeah.
you'll feel better about it, I think.
Yeah, like if they incorporate them more into the next season, we'll see. But I'm glad they didn't spend too much time with her there because it was kind of, I don't know, I kind of lost interest. I kind of wish that they just spent more time on her relationship with Hopper. And that's another thing about the plot that I didn't quite understand. Like, I understand why Hopper has to keep her a secret from like the adults and the news and the media, but he couldn't have at least told Mike.
Yeah, or like some of the friends, like not like
Yeah.
they would say anything, but maybe he was just like trying to play it like as safe as possible, like no little cracks in our plan.
Yeah, I just thought that that was kind of weird. And then this whole time, apparently she's able to just close the upside down, close the portal.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't.
why didn't she do that in season one?
I think that's just because she was escaping, but like I don't remember season one.
At the end of season one, she like defeats the Demogorgon or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, why did? And then I thought she closed the portal.
That must have been just like not the main portal. Like that down under the lab was like the main portal. It's like I don't remember them mentioning this main portal because there was in season one there were multiple portals throughout like the town. Like
Yeah.
Nancy falls into a tree at one
Yeah.
point. So like, does that main portal automatically close all the other portals?
Well, and that's the other thing too. Like Hopper is noticing that there's these portals to the upside down when he goes and looks at the like issue with the pumpkins, and he falls into the upside down. And then
yeah.
Joyce rescues him, and I know he's off for a while with them, but like he does go back and start talking to Elle on the radio. It's like, why didn't he try to like get her to come help close the portals? Like if it was obvious that she knew how to do that.
I mean, he probably should have just like driven out to go get her because how would she get to the lab from there? And like, why would she try to listen to him?
Yeah,
And as far as he knew, she was still at the cabin, right? Yeah,
that was confusing.
yeah, because she ran off, and yeah, that whole thing seems like a completely different story that they shouldn't have focused so much on.
Yeah.
I felt like it's like a whole, like a much bigger story to be told in just one episode.
Yeah.
And I feel like that did just kind of take away from the main plot. Not that it was like a bad episode or anything. It just like didn't seem like it amounted to much other than Elle's a little bit of character development for her.
Yeah. So since we're on the topic of characters, what did you think of them introducing Max and her brother? What do you think of that?
I actually thought they were an awesome addition, like kind of throwing something extra to the mix because, you know, she kind of has an attitude, like a little spark to her, and it's kind of funny that she's into the video games and stuff, and her brother is like just a straight up kind of crazy bully.
I liked the addition of Max because it was somebody who didn't know any of the history, and so she's kind of her and Bob are both kind of like
New to the party,
thrown into this, you know, situation that they are completely, I don't know, unaware of. So that was interesting because, you know, it kind of gets boring if it's all the same characters and they all know what's going on. You have newer characters discovering things. I did not like the addition of her brother. I thought he was kind of pointless. He was just mean and scary, and that was it. I kind of felt like, you know, Steve was originally supposed to be kind of the villain, but then they changed his character and he like kind of...
So they needed another actual human like antagonist.
I feel like they thought they did, but they actually don't. Like, I don't think that they needed him to add anything to the story. Like, they didn't need this really mean bully. What they did with Steve was awesome. They gave him layers, you know? And now they have this other character, this brother, who it doesn't seem like they're planning on really giving him any layers. He's just supposed to be the dislikable villain.
Well, they had the scene and they gave him like reasons as to why he's such a douche. Terrible to his little stepsister because his dad is like super abusive, obviously.
But what does that have to do with, like, I don't understand why that matters to the plot. Like, Max helps with the plot. She joins the gang, but he's just there.
Yeah, overall, in terms of connection with the actual story, what he contributes is beating Steve up so that the kids can go out and lure the demo dogs away. But I did like his integration to the mix in terms of characters, even though he didn't really add a whole lot to the plot.
I think the story would have been just fine without him.
'Cause I think it amplifies and gives more depth to Max's character as well.
I feel like you could have given her other reasons to be the way she is. You don't have to have this crazy brother who, by the way, looks like he's like 30. Like,
It's probably the mullet.
way too old of a casting decision there. But anyway.
Well, in the next season, he'll probably just morph into the Red Ranger anyway, so...
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Max, I mean, she had that really cute relationship with
Lucas.
Yeah, with Lucas. And it's kind of funny how Dustin and Lucas were kind of fighting over it. And then Dustin just like loses interest suddenly.
Yeah, and then he kind of becomes a jerk. That's the other thing. Like both Dustin and Mike's character were kind of jerky the whole season. Like, they were just not nice.
Mike was just like, Mike had significantly less to do in this season than he did last season. It's almost like he wasn't the main like kid anymore.
Dustin was kind of the main kid in this one.
Yeah, especially raising what did he call him? The Three Musketeers guy. D'Artagnan. D'Artagnan. Yeah, he called him Dart.
But yeah, I kind of felt like they made Mike and Dustin's character a little too mean, you know, like
You
Dustin.
think so?
Well, yeah, they were both really mean to Max.
Well, Dustin said a few things that were just like unfriendly.
Yeah.
But it was after Steve said you gotta act like you don't care.
Oh, yeah.
And then so you think he's doing that, but then he actually didn't care.
Yeah.
So that was just a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But it was good for Lucas because I actually like Lucas and Max's
I do.
Like character relationship.
I do too.
And him trying to convince her that it's all real. Like you can be a part of the group now. And Mike was a jerk to her.
Yeah, like
Is
I
it
know
just because she's a girl and like, oh, you're gonna replace 11?
Yeah,
in our group?
he didn't want Elle to be replaced, but that was one thing I didn't like. Like, I felt like they made the relationship. I guess Max and Lucas was all right, but like between Mike and Elle, that was way too romantic. Like, I was kind of thinking like.
Yeah, maybe they didn't do enough in the first season of that kind of.
Yeah, like I know they
pointing
missed
that
each
direction.
other,
They
but
did a little bit, but
it was a little too cheesy. Like, it was kind of cringy.
my long lost love.
Yeah.
How long were they together in the first season? Like a week or something?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I think longer than that. But still,
Probably.
like, I just feel like they could have slowly built up the romance, not just like, oh, you're back.
Yeah, which would
Like-
which would have made 11's integration into the group earlier pay off in that regard with their relationship, like romantically. Instead, she shows up like it was literally second to last episode, end of the second to the last episode.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing. Like, Elle was rude to Max too, and like they never patched that up. I thought they'd at least patch things up with Elle and Mike, but it doesn't seem to happen.
Well, she tried. She said, "Hi, I'm Max," and she just walks right past her.
I know Max kind of. She has her brother being mean to her.
Yeah.
This group of boys is trying, well, Lucas and Dustin are trying to like integrate her into the group. And then Dustin starts to be unfriendly to her. And then Mike's continually rude to her.
Lucas is the only one that's nice to her.
Yeah. And then Elle is like snubbing her.
Oh, man.
It's kind of like, why did they all feel the need to be that rude to her? I mean, I get the jealousy thing, but it's like they should have at least at the end like showed them accepting her into the group or something.
It's like why she doesn't have very much reason to like that group other than to get away from her brother.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of felt overall I thought it was a good season. I will say for season 3, I really hope that they actually don't get Joyce and Hopper together.
Yeah, me neither.
I kind of feel like
I don't really like their relationship. Actually.
Yeah, focus on Hopper and Els. Like, focus on that type of relationship. And then I also hope that they give more development to Will and Jonathan's characters. And then I kind of hope they don't make Will the next victim. Like that.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, like have something new.
Like make him like the hero.
Yeah.
Character, since he has such a connection with the Upside Down.
Or like maybe give Lucas a bigger role. I don't know. And then also like...
we got to see Lucas's family for the first time also, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
So that was kind of cool. And his little sister, that was kind of funny. Some funny moments with that stuff.
Give Joyce some more... Give her... let her stop stressing over Will,
Yeah, her character needs to move on from the stress.
Yeah, like, I don't want to see another season of her stressed out all the time. Let's get her a boyfriend that's similar to Bob. I don't know. Why don't you just bring Bob back? And then...
It'll be zombie Bob. He'll be working at Radio Shack as a zombie.
I'm very upset about that. And then I also hope that, I don't know if I care if Nancy and Steve stay together, but Nancy doesn't need to get with Jonathan. That just seems unnecessary. So I hope they don't do that either.
I'm fine with it. It's whatever.
What I like about the show is that they don't do the cliche. Well, in season 1, they didn't do the cliche stuff. You know, they gave Steve some layers. They didn't just make him the villain. And they did all these things. And then
they're like, oh no, we need to go and do the cliche thing.
Yeah,
Shoot, we need to correct this mistake.
Yeah, we need to add another character since Steve's not a villain anymore. So let's add a villain. And it's like, no, you didn't need to do that. And oh, well, now we have Joyce with a boyfriend. Let's, kill him off so she can get with Hop. No, like, don't do that. Don't do that. So just keep, telling the story in the unique way instead of the cookie cutter plot point way.
Right. I think definitely the strongest aspects of this season are, of course, the character relationship. Even though some development could have been better for certain characters, of course, it'd be hard to do in, what was it, 9 episodes?
Yeah.
And so many characters. But I think with what they had, they did a very good job of that. One more thing, I do think it was kind of strange focusing so much time on Dustin raising D'Artagnan. There's so much screen time devoted to that, which I think they could have tightened that up and shortened that a little bit so that they can focus a little bit, maybe even on Elle's character with going off to the other group or whatever. But yeah, there's so much time devoted to that only for D'Artagnan to join the group. And the only payoff from all that was D'Artagnan being the first demo dog to meet the kids in the tunnels when they were trying to lure all the demo dogs down to those tunnels. And so he was able to give him a candy bar and distract him so that the kids can go by. And that was like the payoff to that entire thing. And there was so much screen time devoted to that.
Well, overall, what rating would you give Stranger Things 2?
Oh man, I didn't really think about it. I'd say it's worth your time.
That's the same thing I would say.
Yeah, it's worth your time. I think the first season was totally boss, but this one's definitely worth your time.
Yeah, it's slightly less interesting than season 1.
Yeah, not as good, but still pretty great.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you for watching, and take it easy.